I reached out on Twitter and asked a simple question. What would you rather see? My 100% IV Pokemon collection, or would you rather see all of my maxed out Pokemon? And although the majority of people did side with the 100% IV collection, there ended up being a response from Derek that actually swayed my decision to talk about maxed out Pokemon instead. So here's what he said. I actually think that maxed out Pokemon are more interesting because for every maxed out Pokemon, there are thoughts and there are decisions behind the choices that you made, while 100% IVs could simply come down to just luck. And I actually agree with that. You guys come to my channel to try to learn something, take away something, and yes, we have fun, we joke around every now and again, but I want to give you something that you can take away from this video. Because there's one important thing to note. I do not like powering up Pokemon up to level 40, so if I have powered it up to that point, you know that that Pokemon is either going to be amazing or there is a special reason behind it. I'm very stingy when it comes to the Stardust, rare candy, powering things up. I do not like to do it. Of course, if we made a video talking about my level 35 collection, that would probably be more interesting because I do get them up to that point, but it is a very special occasion is what I'm trying to say for me to power it up to level 40. Anyways, I hope you do enjoy this video. If you do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. So as many of you know, if you go to the search bar, there's not a way to look up level 40 Pokemon, but I actually notate it with a specific circle so I can find it, and I went ahead and renamed some of the Pokemon specifically for this video. So let's go ahead and jump into it. This will be in order by CP, and the first one is a very interesting story to talk about, and that is a Ditto. Now you may be saying to yourself, why the heck are you powering up a Ditto all the way up to level 40? It actually has nothing to do with just Ditto in general. It has to do with the fact that this Ditto in particular is actually glitched. As you can see, it has the new attack button, for example. So you can click on it, you can go ahead and click yes, you can click no. It doesn't actually do anything in this case. But then also, if you end up going to like the search bar, for example, and look up the word Pidgey, this Ditto will show up. I just thought that that was so cool, so unique that I said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and power it up to level 40 because I honestly could not see myself getting rid of this Pokemon unless something super crazy ended up coming up. The next Pokemon we have is Politoed. Now this really stemmed from a regret. I want to go ahead and point that out. It was regretful because whenever PvP got announced, I was going out and looking for the best Pokemon, not just for the Great League, but also for the Ultra League, for example. And then I actually had a Legacy Politoed, so I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and use this Pokemon in the Ultra League. All I've got to do is wait for the Silph Arena to do some of those Ultra League tournaments, and that never happened. So yes, I had to max out this Pokemon to get it to that point. This is a regretful one. Up next, oh man, we're starting this out so cool just because the lower CP ones are not going to be just because these Pokemon are just extremely good. They're mostly the sentimental ones, and in this case, I actually ended up getting this Swampert during my 100K live stream, and it ended up becoming a 100% IV. So yes, it is level 40, but it is also a 100% IV Pokemon that I completely powered up. It was such a special occasion to be able to do that, one, on the live stream, but then two, just to commemorate hitting 100,000 subs with a 100% IV, and then of course powering it up all the way. So that was definitely a fond memory. Now we're going to start getting into more of the meta-relevant Pokemon and ones that I was 100% invested into doing. This is actually going to be another 100% IV Pokemon, Moltres, and I of course powered it up to level 40. In this case, I do have the exclusive move Sky Attack, and that's actually why I went ahead and decided to power it up, because I could get Overheat as well. If you do not have a Sky Attack, I don't think it's worth powering up Moltres up to level 40, but when you have Sky Attack, you could open up Overheat, and all of a sudden, it's going to be the #1 attacker from the fire typing as well as the flying type, so a ton of value in Moltres. I was not worried about powering that one up at all. Now this one is actually the most recent one. I ended up having a friend named Chad. We ended up switching to Pokemon, and I did get myself this lucky on the Lucky Guaranteed trade. And this is actually the first Rayquaza that I have powered up past like level 30. It's just because I simply did not get any good IVs. I did not get any Luckies necessarily. So once I end up getting the chance to get a guaranteed Rayquaza, I wanted to go ahead and make sure that I got it lucky and went ahead and powered that up. It is a 96% IV, so yes, very excited about that. I know it's not a 100 and it doesn't have a 15 in attack, but YOLO. All right, up next, we've got Tyranitar. Now, Tyranitar, I think, is a very solid option. In this case, I've got the Bite Crunch combination. It's not going to be the only one that we will talk about, but I do think that Tyranitar is easily one of the better options. And as you can see, I caught this a long time ago, so it wasn't that big of a deal to invest in it over time because it was so dominant at the time, and it's still very good now, so it just seemed like a very good investment to be able to make. Up next is actually another one. Yes, Tyranitar is one of those that I am not afraid to get up to level 40, and once again, we have one of them on the Dark team members of the Bite Crunch. I've got a Dark team, and then I've got like the Rock team with Smackdown as well, and we're going to go ahead and get into that. Here we go. This is the team leader by far, so a 98% powered up to level 40. We've got Smackdown as well as Stone Edge, so very excited about this Pokemon in particular, and then of course getting it up to level 40. Up next, we have a Mewtwo, and not just a Mewtwo. This is going to be a Shadow Ball Mewtwo powered up to level 40. I've always said, I think Shadow Balls are great. We can't get Psy Strike, unfortunately, but Psychic did get buffed, so who knows, I may end up unlocking Psychic a little bit later on. This one in particular is a 91% IV. Up next is another Shadow Ball Mewtwo, but in this case, I decided to go ahead and unlock the move Psychic. Mostly for the fact that it has a 15 in attack. It's also lucky, so it's very cheap to kind of power up. So I said to myself, you know what? It's going to be worth it for me to go ahead and unlock it. Sure, it's not as good as Psy Strike, but it does have some flexibility, and it's going to be just a great team member to have. It's also lucky, so yeah, definitely shout out to Trab Walker on that one. Definitely appreciated. We're going to go ahead and move on to the last and final one. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a 100% IV level 40 Mewtwo. So excited to be able to get this one, and it does have the move Psychic, okay? Now that's going to be a little bit up for debate. What the heck do I do with this Pokemon in particular? I'm just glad that they ended up updating the move Psychic, because if they did not do it, I honestly just do not know how valuable this Pokemon would end up being if Psychic was not made better. I don't know what I would do with it, because it wasn't a Shadow Ball, it wasn't a Psy Strike, but this is easily one of my favorite Pokemon to have out of my entire collection, just because number one, it's Mewtwo. Let's go ahead and be honest. Number two, it was a 100% IV. Number three, it was a legendary Pokemon, and I am just so excited to be able to do that. When I was catching this Pokemon, my heart was just pounding. I was so scared to catch this one, and because it made me so nervous, I just absolutely knew that this Pokemon in particular was easily going to be one of my favorite ones to have. So that just about wraps up the video. If you're asking yourself the question, well, what about your Machamps? What about your Roserades? What about all these other Pokemon that are super good? Why have you not powered them up to level 40? Well, your boy has powered them up to level 35 or caught them in the wild and then just simply traded them at like level 34, level 35. So I have a lot of very good Pokemon at that mid 30 level, but just have not committed to powering them up to level 40 for the fear that they are going to either beat themselves or get beat by another Pokemon from Generation 5. But regardless of all that, I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. But I want to go ahead and end with the question of the day. What Pokemon have you powered up to level 40 that you are most proud of? Go ahead and leave it in the comment section below, and I will see you next time. If you want to develop a deeper connection, I would highly recommend you to check out Patreon. We've got a lot of really cool things going on over there. Check out all of these supporters that we have. We are almost up to 100. We are also posting some special content, some behind the scenes work. And if that is the type of thing that interests you, I would highly recommend you to check it out.